Have you ever wondered what it would be like to uncover a shocking secret about someone you thought you knew? Well, prepare to dive into a story that will chill you to the bone. Picture a quiet, unassuming neighborhood in St. John's, a place where children play in the streets, neighbors know each other by name, and the biggest commotion is the weekly trash pickup. But one day, this tranquil silence was shattered by the deafening roar of police sirens. The police, arriving in no time, found themselves standing before a two-story house. A man sprawled lifelessly at the front door, his shirt soaking up a spreading pool of his own blood. His body bore the unmistakable signature of a gunshot wound. The scene inside the house was no less grim. No signs of a forced entry, no signs of a struggle. The officers made their way upstairs, only to be met with another chilling sight. Another man lying just as lifelessly on the bedroom floor, with a similar gunshot wound. The victims? 29-year-old Vincent Romero and his roommate, 39-year-old Timothy Romans. Romero, a doting father to a quiet 8-year-old boy, Christian, and Romans, a hard-working man from San Carlos, who rented a room in Romero's house. Both men shared more than just a roof. They both worked at the same power plant construction company. The questions began to pile up. Who could have done this? Who would want to? Above all, who had robbed young Christian Romero of his father? With no immediate suspects and no DNA evidence, the case seemed to be headed towards a dead end. A sense of despair began to settle over the quiet neighborhood of St. John's. But was it really a dead-end case? Or was there something, or more accurately someone, that everyone had overlooked? A shocking revelation was about to turn this case and the entire neighborhood on its head, but we'll get to that. For now, let's delve deeper into the unsettling discovery that started it all. As the police began their investigation, they were about to stumble upon a shocking revelation. The St. John's neighborhood was a tranquil, tight-knit community, not the type of place where double homicides occurred. The initial steps of the investigation were met with bewilderment and frustration. There was no sign of forced entry, no apparent robbery. The victims' wallets, jewelry, and other valuables remained untouched. The lack of physical evidence was perplexing. There were no fingerprints, no foreign DNA, nothing that would typically lead detectives down the path of a potential suspect. The investigation team was left scratching their heads. They were dealing with a highly unusual crime scene. The only clear pieces of evidence were the two bodies and the bullet casings found at the scene. The autopsy reports confirmed what was already known. Both victims died from gunshot wounds. With no clear motive or suspects, the detectives needed to dig deeper. They began interviewing neighbors, friends, and family members, hoping to unearth some crucial piece of information. They looked into the victims' backgrounds, their relationships, their work history, anything that might provide a hint about who could have wanted them dead. As days turned into weeks, the mystery surrounding the case only deepened. The police were under immense pressure to solve the case. The media was buzzing with theories, the community was in shock, and a little boy was left without a father. Despite the lack of substantial leads, the detectives remained relentless. They painstakingly combed through every detail, every piece of evidence, every interview transcript. They knew that somewhere within the information they had, there was a clue hiding in plain sight. But as they delved deeper into the lives of the victims and those around them, they were about to uncover a chilling truth. A truth that would shake their understanding of the crime and send shockwaves through the community. But little did they know, the answer to their questions was closer than they thought. As the investigation deepened, the police were about to uncover a truth that would send shockwaves through the community and beyond. In the crime scene that held no signs of a break-in, no foreign DNA, no third-party involvement, the detectives were left scratching their heads. The pieces of the puzzle just didn't seem to fit together, until an unthinkable revelation turned the entire case on its head. The quiet, worried 8-year-old boy, Christian Romero, who had innocently knocked on his neighbor's door, was the one behind this chilling crime. Yes, you heard that right. It was Christian, the son of Vincent Romero, who was responsible for the brutal killing of his own father and his father's roommate, Timothy Romans. This revelation sent a cold shiver down everyone's spine. It was beyond anyone's comprehension. How could a child, who should be playing with toys and making friends, commit such a horrendous act? It was almost impossible to believe. The community was in a state of shock, disbelief, and profound sadness. Colleagues of the victims, neighbors, family members, and even seasoned detectives struggled to make sense of this shocking truth. The face of the killer was not that of a hardened criminal, but a mere child. A child who was now also a victim, robbed of his childhood and thrown into a world he was far too young to comprehend. And yet, the evidence was irrefutable. The gun used in the crime was found in the house, and Christian's confession to the police was clear. He had committed the act. But the question remained, why? What could drive an 8-year-old to such extremes? The shock of this revelation left everyone speechless. How could an 8-year-old commit such a heinous act? The case of Christian Romero was not just a murder investigation. It had now become a profound and disturbing commentary on our society. What had led to this? And how could it be prevented from happening again? In the wake of this shocking revelation, the community and the nation grappled with the reality of what had happened. The trial of young Christian Romero, an 8-year-old boy, stood accused of an unimaginable crime, and it was a spectacle that gripped the country. The courtroom was filled to the brim with media, lawyers, and spectators alike, all struggling to comprehend the grim paradox of an innocent child implicated in a heinous act. The public's reaction was a complex mix of disbelief, horror, and sorrow. Many were quick to point fingers at the parents or the system, while others simply stared blankly, unable to process the grim reality. The trial was a whirlwind of emotions, with heated debates and polarized opinions. A question kept lingering in the air. How could a child, barely out of kindergarten, commit such an atrocious act? This case sparked intense discussions about child psychology. Could a child so young understand the gravity of his actions? What sort of circumstances could lead to such a tragic outcome? Mental health professionals emphasized the importance of early childhood intervention and the need for a better understanding of juvenile psychology. The case also ignited a debate on gun control. The fact that an 8-year-old had easy access to a firearm was a chilling reminder of the need for stricter gun laws and better safety measures. It raised questions about the role of firearms in our society and the potential dangers they pose when in the wrong hands. Finally, the legal system came under scrutiny. The nation questioned whether it was equipped to handle such a unique case. Was it fair to try a child as an adult? What would be an appropriate punishment for such a young offender? These questions challenged our preconceived notions about justice, forcing us to reevaluate our beliefs. This case left an indelible mark on everyone who heard about it, forcing us to question what we think we know about human nature. As we conclude our journey into this chilling case, let's summarize what we've learned. The quiet, seemingly innocent Christian Romero, an 8-year-old boy, was found to be the culprit behind the gruesome murders of his own father, Vincent Romero, and family friend Timothy Romans. This revelation stunned the nation, as it was hard to believe such a young child could be capable of such a heinous act. The investigation into the case was a roller coaster ride with no clear suspects initially. The lack of signs of a break-in or robbery left the investigators baffled. The mystery deepened as no DNA evidence other than the victims was found at the crime scene. However, the truth emerged in the form of a confession from the little boy himself, Christian Romero, leaving everyone in shock. This case had a profound impact, not just on the local community, but on the entire nation. It forced us to question our understanding of childhood innocence and the potential for violence that can lie beneath the surface. It sparked debates about the criminal justice system's approach to juvenile offenders and how society should handle such cases. The aftermath of the case was equally shocking. Christian was tried as a juvenile, and his sentencing was a subject of much debate. Some argued that he was too young to understand the gravity of his actions, while others believed that the severity of the crime warranted a harsher punishment. Ultimately, the court decided that rehabilitation, rather than punishment, should be the focus for such a young offender. The case of Christian Romero taught us several lessons. It highlighted the importance of mental health awareness and intervention, particularly in children, and the potential consequences of ignoring signs of distress. It also underscored the need for a more nuanced approach to juvenile justice, one that takes into account the unique circumstances of each case. In the end, the case of Christian Romero serves as a stark reminder that sometimes the most shocking secrets can be hidden in the most unexpected places.